Good morning and welcome to Morecambe Community Church. I'm glad you're here and I'm happy to... Oh, sorry. Can you... Oh, that's better. Thank you. That's better. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're here joining us for our Sunday service this morning. We've got some great stuff planned. I'm coming! Yes, Mother, I'm coming! Mother, I'm filming right now. I'm coming in a minute. Sorry, Mother isn't well. But thank you very much for tuning in this morning. I've had a great week. I've finally been granted planning permission for 3 houses that I've been wanting to build for ages on top of a mountain. So I'm chuffed to pieces at the moment, and that's really good. Great service planned for us this morning with some great songs, and we're looking forward to being together. There's a little bit more right at the end regarding the future of Morecambe Community Church's Sunday services now that the lockdown has been eased, but I'll get to that at the end. I won't bother you with it now. Let's just concentrate on our service, on our worship, on our heart. Let's concentrate and focus on Jesus and what he's got to say to us together as a church. So I'm very...
Dad, there's someone at the door!
Okay.
He's not from round here.
Okay. I'll have to go, but if you haven't guessed by now, the character that Alan is talking about later, then all this, quite frankly, has been very weird. So enjoy the rest of the service. I better go and see to the door to see what they want. Take care. What to say, Lord, it's you gave me life and I can't explain just how much you mean to me now that you have saved me, Lord. I give all that I am to you, that every day I can be a light that shines your name. And every day, Lord, I learn to stand upon your word, and I pray that I might come to know you more, that you would guide me in every single step I take up. And every day I can be a light unto your world. Every day it's you I live for. Every day I'll follow after you. Every day I'll walk with you, my Lord. Gave me life and I can't explain just how much you mean to me now that you have saved me, Lord. I give all that I am to you, that every day I can be a light that shines your name. Every day, Lord, learn to stand upon your word, and I pray that I might come to know you more, that you would guide me in every single step I take up. And every day I can be a light unto your world. Every day it's you I live for. Every day I'll follow after you. Every day I'll walk with you, my Lord. It's you I live for every day. It's you I live for every day. It's you I live for every day.
stories of the Bible. Jesus calls Peter. This is Jesus,
Hey-o!
who is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. Jesus grew up in Nazareth
Hey, Jesus.
and was baptized by John in the Jordan River. Jesus began teaching about God's love and healing people of their sickness. One day, John saw Jesus walking by and told the people around him that Jesus was the Lamb of God. One of the people standing with him was Andrew, whose brother was Simon, who would later be known as Peter. Andrew went to find his brother and said, "We have found the Christ."
Whoa! Really? Come on!
Simon went with Andrew and met Jesus.
Uh-huh. I'm Simon.
Jesus looked at Simon and said, "Your name is Simon, son of John,
Yes, it is.
but you will be called Peter."
Okay.
On another day, Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and lots of people crowded around him to hear what he had to say.
Hello. Well, okay.
Jesus noticed two empty boats, for Andrew and Peter had left them and were washing their nets. Jesus stepped into one of the boats
Hey, Peter.
and asked Peter to take him out into the sea.
Aye, aye.
So he sat in the boat and taught the crowds from there. When he had finished speaking, he said to Peter, "Now go out where it is deeper and let down your nets to catch some fish." But Peter said, "We worked hard all last night and didn't catch a thing. But if you say so, I'll let the nets down again." And this time their nets were so full of fish, they began to tear.
Whoa!
They called to some other fishermen for help,
Hey, help!
and soon both boats were filled with fish. When Peter realized what happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, "Oh Lord, please leave me. I'm such a sinful man." Jesus replied to Peter, "Don't be afraid. Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people."
Really? Really?
And as soon as they landed, they left their nets and followed Jesus. So Simon Peter became one of Jesus' 12 disciples and followed his friend Jesus throughout his time on earth.
Bally.
What's wrong with Bally?
What's wrong with Bally?
It's perfectly normal.
Perfectly normal.
I used to go to Bali.
See?
Aye, for your nana. For girls, not for lads, Billy. Lads do football or boxing or wrestling. Not friggin' Bally.
Good morning. I'm going to move the mouse because I had the mouse before and I dropped it halfway through and then everything went weird. Good job I had done that because actually I hadn't put the sound up. So I'd have had to do it all again. So I'm going to put the mouse to one side because I can't do a laptop without a mouse. Anyway, the trouble is now is the fact that I had to close the windows because it's a hot day and I thought, well, I'd get it cool before I start talking. But now I've closed the window for a few minutes and it's boiling. So if I flake out halfway through, then you can have, a long pause. I chose that thing about, good morning in case I forgot to say it. I chose that bit about Billy Elliot, not that I've actually ever seen Billy Elliot, but I kind of thought, it kind of felt the kind of thing that Peter might have been in the same situation of telling his dad he wanted to do something different. Obviously he didn't want to be a ballet dancer, but there's been other films where someone has wanted to do something that hasn't been what the family expected them to do. I've got to think that I feel right about this. So Peter would have been head of the fishing business. His dad would have left him to him, and him and his brothers would have done it. And it wouldn't have been an easy job. They were never going to be kind of highly thought of in Jewish things because they weren't like trained in the way of Moses and things like that. But imagine, now I could be totally unfair on Peter's dad. He might have been, yeah, brilliant, fantastic. I've heard Jesus himself. Yeah, go with my blessing. Or you might be thinking, hold on, why do you want to follow him? Because you think this fellow's the Messiah. Yeah, that's not really the Messiah we're looking at, is it? You've got to give up a good job to actually go and follow this man who kind of like, yeah, says a nice things. He does a few things, but actually, there's no future in it, really. Why do you want to do that? And maybe Peter would have to say, actually, I believe this is right. This is what I need to do. Now, it might be totally unfair on his dad, and he might have said, yeah. Okay. But think of Peter. I'm sure he saw Jesus around. So before we get to the story that Min read before in the Bible, I'm sure he saw him around. He'd caught bits of things he'd said. He'd heard of the things he'd done. So when he came and he stayed in the boat and he talked to all the people, again, he would have heard firsthand what Jesus was saying and what he was doing. And so when Jesus says, yeah, follow me, he wants to do it. There's no doubt that this is the right thing to do. I want to follow you, Jesus. Now, obviously, I think there was a process, of getting to that point of saying, yeah, I want to follow you, Jesus. I'll leave this fishing. I'll go. I'm with you. Now, most of us, when we look back, whether we can think of a time whether we became a Christian or whether we've just never been able to name a time, we can look back and see a process of God at work in our lives. So either if we think we've had a blinding light experience, maybe for a lot of people, actually, if you look back, you can see a process getting to that point. It may not be for everyone. But the fact that Jesus is always working in our lives. But I'd like to think about the miracle for a second. Think about, it was a miracle. Yeah, there was no fish and they've caught fish. But I want to think it's slightly maybe different. Is that they'd been fishing all night. That's what they did. They fished at night. That was the best time to catch fish. And Jesus says, throw the net on the other side. You've caught nothing. And Peter says, all right, we've been fishing all night. We always fish at night. Yeah, it's the way we do things. But because you've said it, I'll do it. And so they do. And they catch loads of fish. Now I wonder whether Jesus was so in touch with nature, so in touch with his surroundings, was so aware of people, was so aware of what was going on, that he saw there was a shoal of fish. He saw there was an opportunity there. And if they'd have stayed in their rut, because we always do it this way, we're just doing our nets now, we don't want to do anything else now, we're finished. They'd have missed that opportunity. Maybe that's a challenge for us. Is there a new way that is there, just on the side of that boat, if only we listen to Jesus? And one of the reasons that I kind of thought that is the fact that you think later on, after the resurrection, Jesus is alive. He's standing on the beach watching Peter and the disciples fishing. Peter just wants to go fishing. Yeah, Jesus is here, but he's not here. Yeah, I need to do something, but I'll go back to what I know. I'll go fishing. And Jesus shouts across, have you caught anything? And he said, no, we haven't caught anything. And Jesus says, and they don't know it's Jesus, put the net on the other side. And they don't question. They do it. They don't know this is Jesus. But they do it because of that experience. The fact that actually that person who's shouting it might have noticed something that we've never noticed before. So maybe we need to see more those opportunities that are there just the other side of the boat. And those opportunities might be because God actually says, look, think about this. There's another way to do it. Or it might be someone says, we thought about this, have we tried this? Do we always have to do it that way? But sometimes it's so easy to get caught in a rut. We need Jesus' eyes to show us there is another way. Earlier with Peter's ministry, I think people like Peter because he seems pretty normal. He'd be someone we can kind of relate to. He has flashes of brilliance, of getting it right. Like, Jesus, you are the Messiah, and Jesus says, yeah, you're spot on. And he goes, yeah, yes. And then depths of, you've got this totally wrong. Oh, no. Like when Jesus says, get away, get behind me, Satan. He stands up and he kind of leads the disciples. He's brave. He's kind of thinking, I'll stand up for you. And then the next minute he denies. But he seems the kind of person that we all are. He knew the love of Jesus. And he knew that sometimes he got it right. And sometimes he got it wrong. And in those times when he got it totally wrong, you can imagine how bad, how gutting he felt. Because we've all been there at times when we got it wrong. But Jesus forgives and says, follow me, feed my lamb. Jesus is there with him all the time. He's able to stand up in front of 3,000 people and, full of the power of the Holy Spirit, actually say, look, we're not drunk. This is the message. He's willing to get chucked in prison. He's willing to stand up. And yet, we find out at one time, Paul actually has to say, Peter, you got this wrong. Because you've been two-faced. You're hanging around with one part of the church and looking as if you agree with them, when actually you were with that other side, to the week until they turned up. And Paul has to recognize, because in a sense, he was, he kind of was also a strong person. He was also sometimes a very weak person. And he was that kind of character. And that's why maybe we love him. But the great thing is, whether we think we're fantastic or whether we're rubbish, that Jesus loves us as we are. And most of us don't think we're fantastic. Maybe we all think, oh, that was good. That's good. And we feel good that Jesus has blessed us in that way. Most of us probably feel maybe the other way. But Jesus comes alongside us. As he came alongside Peter, Jesus' best friend, one of his close group, who got it right and got it wrong. And he still loved him all the time. We see Peter change so much. When Cornelius was there, wanted to know more about God, Cornelius was a tanner, with leather and fish skins and all that. He wasn't the kind of person you would go and see. And he would be one of the outcasts and things like that. And he was a Gentile. In fact, actually, I got that wrong. He was staying with the tanner. And staying with the tanner, Peter had moved because a tanner wasn't thought of as being much cop, not in Jewish eyes. So Peter had moved to go and stay with someone who was not a nice person. And then Cornelius a Gentile, has a vision and asks Peter to come. And Peter has this vision, and Jesus says, "Eat these things." He says, no. And he says, "What is holy is holy." And then Peter goes to Cornelius, and these Gentiles become Christians. And that's pretty amazing. But he then has to go back to the church and say, "Yes, Gentiles become Christians." And they go, "Well, that's great, that's fantastic, but they need to do And after a long discussion, and because Peter is so highly respected, the church go with him. It may have been somebody else, they might not have, but Peter was highly, highly respected. But for him to shift from there to there, he had to take a chunk of the church who weren't really, they were quite conservative and all that, and see actually Gentiles can become Christians. And that was a big move. And I wonder, maybe you're like me, in some of the jobs I've done in the past, I always find myself in a kind of trying to see both sides, trying to get other people to try and see what other people are going through, to understand. And sometimes it's quite uncomfortable. Yeah. Sometimes you can say, "Oh, you're sitting on the fence," and sometimes, yeah, but it wasn't sitting on the fence. Sometimes you're actually trying to get two opposing views together. And those of you, if you've been it, it's actually not that easy. So obviously we've seen the fact that Peter sometimes was on one side and with another side. But actually, maybe Peter was trying to hold the two, the conservative Jews that wanted the Christians, the new way, to actually follow certain traditions. And then Paul and other things, actually, this is not right. This God doesn't want that. And somehow Peter was trying to hold that all together. And maybe his influence with the conservatives waned. And maybe he found it difficult to go along with Paul because he was somehow trying to hold this all together. But he never lost that respect. He never lost the point of actually wanting people to grow in their faith. And he was trying to have the people who saw it a certain way to grow in their faith, and the new Gentiles to grow in their way. And it wasn't always probably comfortable for him. It's interesting, I think it's after Acts 12, Peter just disappears. He is being in prison for sharing the good news. And there's a miracle happens, and he gets out of prison, and he goes, sees some of the local Christians, and disappears. And the only other mention we get of Peter in the Bible is when Paul tells him off. Now, I'm not too sure where that kind of happens in the timeline, but it's going to be later on than there when he disappears. So he was still around, still preaching the good news, but somehow he's not worth writing him about him. If Paul was, doing a new thing, and the Gentiles were becoming more and more, were growing and growing, and more Christians were growing in the Gentile church. So maybe I wonder if Peter actually felt as if, I've lost my way a bit now, lost touch. Tradition has it that he went to Rome, and maybe even led the church there, and was finally crucified upside down there. And that seems to be, from what probably what happened. But his influence maybe within the wider churches probably wasn't as much. Not that he was any less important, but maybe he might have, I wonder if he ever felt as if he was no longer, that leader that Jesus, he was like the main one, that the people actually saw that, yeah, we recognise we'll go and talk to Peter because he, yeah, is the leader of this group. Maybe that had waned. Maybe that had gone. I wonder if he did. I wonder if we think, actually, you know, nothing's happening now. I've been following Jesus for years. Well, maybe I've only been following for a little bit. But nothing's really happened. I'm not making a difference. Nothing's really changing. I'm not doing anything. God's not using me anymore. Well, God's never used me, as some people can feel. But the great thing is that God never, ever stops using us. And that's going to be different for each and every one of us. We are a process that Jesus continues to work on. A process that actually enables us to become more and more like Jesus. So he's never stopped working with us. He's never stopped loving us. He's never stopped using us. Maybe we've got to look at a new way. Maybe we need to see the opportunities around. But Jesus is always there with us, wanting us to move forward with him. There's obviously on a lockdown, I did quite a lot of walking up and down the prom. I'm up to my second pair of training shoes now, and they're getting a bit worn. But I was going along a couple of weeks ago, and past the RNLI place and the sailing club and all that. There's a couple of different boats and things like that. And there's one boat, and every time you went past, it was kind of, obviously it was stuck in the mud. And the water, when the tide came in, went over the top of it. And I remember walking along one day thinking, I don't want to be like that. I want to be one of the boats that's still used. It might be an old boat, it might be a new boat, but I still want to be used. I mean, I don't want to be like that. And then, well, maybe 2 weeks ago, I saw someone moving some buoys around and repositioning. I thought, is he doing some work? And then a few days later, saw him actually digging and then putting a like a sandbank up to one side. I don't know what faintest idea what he's doing, to be perfectly honest. But then someone came along and said, "Have you seen what he's doing? He's waist deep in there." And every time and suddenly, it was actually, a lot of it was clear. And even today, or yesterday when I went past, and he was there again. Now, I don't know whether that boat will ever float again. This woman who was walking along, I said, I don't think he'll ever go again. And it was a kind of conversation a few people had, but I was going to go along today because the tide was in and see. And then I thought, no, I don't think what is important. The important is that the process is that man was still working on that boat, trying to get it to rise again. And God's process is still with us. Maybe we will float again. But every time he did something, there was more opportunity for it to rise again. Every time he dug another ditch, every time he moved things around, there was the opportunity for it to rise again. So all of us are a process. And maybe we feel a bit like that boat that was stuck underwater, that we're not moving. That man is not giving up on that boat. And God doesn't give up on us. Jesus could have given up on Peter, but he didn't. Jesus could give up on us if we get things wrong, but he doesn't. We're a process, and that God continues to work in that process of our lives so we can become more like him, more the person he wants us to be, and to make a difference to the people we meet, the people we work with, the people we share with, the local community around us.
Falling on my knees in worship, giving all I am to seek your face. Lord, all I am is yours. My whole life I place in your hands. God of mercy, humbled I bow down in your presence at your throne. I call, you answer, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. Falling on my knees in worship, giving all I am to seek your face. Lord, all I am is yours. My whole life I place in your hands. God of mercy, humbled I bow down in your presence at
So the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that today would have been our sharing and communion service, but online that never seemed to work particularly well. So I've taken the executive decision to delay our sharing communion service until we're back together in real life and carry on with messages for the time being, particularly because when we do our sharing and communion service, what somebody says triggers something in somebody else, and for a lot of people it's just a lot easier, even that's difficult to, but still easier to just get up and say something rather than record themselves and then send it in and then watching themselves back on the screen. It's not for everybody's taste. So that's basically why we had Alan speak this morning. In regards to the way ahead with opening MCC, now you've heard that technically we could meet together again on the 5th of July. However, we're not quite ready for that. There's not enough guidance out yet to make sure that that's actually done safely enough. And then we're also thinking that whilst we can meet as a church, some people still choose or have to self-isolate. So we would be excluding some, particularly because we would struggle to do both, to meet in person and do these online services. So there's a bit more work to be done to make sure that we include everybody. We might well have something outside, a beach service, or go for a walk together or something like that. And then when we do meet properly at Impact again, we will be streaming these services live on YouTube. And there's a little bit more work to be done and some equipment to get. So bear with us. We will let you know in due course, but we want to make sure that nobody's excluded and then we do it safely. If you have some ideas on how we can make sure that everybody gets involved and is included, then please just drop us a line. That would be great. However, the Restore and Restoration are open. They've been open online, but now they're open in real life and with restrictions on how many people are allowed in the shops and so on. But you can go and buy your birthday presents and gifts again there. That would be great. Some fantastic new artwork has gone in. Definitely worth going. Impact is also reopening. On the 8th of July, Emma, Melissa and Rachel are reopening the Living Life to the Full course. If you are interested, get in touch with Emma or Rachel, please, because there are restrictions on numbers and it's a slightly different time, and you got to bring your own brew and that sort of thing. So you have to be booked on. You please don't just show up. And then the advice and guidance sessions at Impact are opening on Thursday the 9th of July from 10 till 1. There won't be any food available, there won't be any drinks available. It's just for advice and guidance for people who are struggling with housing and benefits and because all that's been a little bit more difficult to sort out. And then the week after, we're holding advice and guidance sessions on Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings from then on. And that's about all we know for now. We're hoping that you bear with us during this time. Thanks for still tuning in after all these days. And I'm gonna put another song from our now extensive archive on at the end so we can continue to chat. Please feel free to drop us an email or a phone call during the week. It'd be great to hear from you. And share away. Fantastic stuff that Alan said, great songs. Share the video. It's been great to see people tuning in from all over the world to watch what we get up to in a little corner of God's kingdom. So stay well, stay safe, and God bless. And it's Bella's birthday. Happy birthday, Bella. Lots of love from all of us. Have a great day.
calling out to you. There must be something more, some deeper place to find, some secret place to hide, where I've not gone before. But my soul is satisfied, and my sin is put to death. And I can hear your voice, your purpose is my choice, as natural as breath. Love I knew before, when you first touched my life, I needed to restore, I wanted to revive. Oh, place in my heart and passion for Jesus, the hunger that seizes my passion for you, my one desire, my greatest possession, my only confession, my passion for you. Calling out to you. There must be something more, some deeper place to find, some secret place to hide, where I've not gone before. When my soul is satisfied, my sin is put to death. And I can hear your voice, your purpose is my choice, as natural as breath. Love I knew before, when you first touched my life, needed to restore, wanted to revive. Place in my heart a passion for Jesus, a hunger that seizes my passion for you, my one desire, my greatest possession, my only confession, my passion for you.